In this video, I'm gonna share with you 3 tips to help you become a better web designer. But hey, why on earth am I wearing a VR headset? Hello, I'm your host Casino. I'm the Digital Alchemist, and today we're gonna talk about how to become a better web designer. So first of all, let me put that on the side. So I ran a poll on the channel and I asked you, what do you most struggle with when it comes to web design? And 42% said that they wanted to get better at designing nice websites. So how do we do that? Well, tip number 1, you gotta start building that creative muscle. You gotta work with that muscle. So for example, if you wanted to get in shape and you contemplating going to the gym, now nothing is going to happen if you just talk about going to the gym. Or maybe you go to the gym, but you don't exercise. You just watch people, you talk to people, you laugh with people, but you don't actually train. Or even if you train, you don't really suffer. You don't really make the necessary efforts. Now, I can already hear you say, duh, of course you need to work if you want to get some results. But you'd be surprised because I'm not saying people are lazy. What I'm saying is people spend so much time thinking about doing things, but they never actually do it. And if that's you, maybe that's because you are scared and maybe you lack confidence. Now, I remember in my case, I took so much time before I actually got started in web design because I wanted everything to be perfect. So I wanted to study and I wanted to know everything before I could actually start, showcase my work. But it doesn't really work like that. It doesn't work like that at all. So when a baby comes into this world, the baby can't talk, the baby can't walk. And obviously, even as they progress in age, they're not going to start walking and running right away. They're not going to start having deep conversation with people. They start with simple things. Apple, mom, dad, that kind of thing. Did I say apple before mom and dad? But I digress. The point is, you need to start taking baby steps before you can become a better web designer. I know it sounds really simplistic, but you'd be surprised how many people actually skip that step. Now, if you like sports like I do, I love soccer. Here we call it football. Maybe you prefer American football, basketball, baseball. It doesn't really matter, but I'm just going to give you an example. So in all sports, you got those superstars. But when you look at it, the superstars are not always the most talented players. For example, in soccer, we have Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo and Kylian Mbappe. And of course, they got talent. But I remember some other players that, were supposed to have even more talent than them, and they never made it. Or maybe they made it for 1 or 2 seasons, but then they disappeared and they started having a lot of trouble, a lot of issues, and they never had the career that they were supposed to. And then on the other hand, you have someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, which is not my favorite player, but I have a deep respect for what he does because he's talented, but I wouldn't say he's the most talented, but he's a hard worker. I heard the guy makes 3,000 reps doing sit-ups. Maybe that's crazy, maybe that's fake, I don't know. I heard that he's often the first one to arrive at practice and the last one to go. And even players like Lionel Messi and Mbappe that have more talent, in my opinion, than Cristiano Ronaldo, they still work hard because you can't be at the top for so long if you don't work hard. So basically you need to work, but how do you work? And that brings me to my next tip. Develop your observation skills. And to illustrate that, let's stay on our soccer example. So I told you about those players like Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Mbappe. And maybe you don't know anything about soccer. So think about LeBron James, think about Michael Jordan. That was a long time ago, but that kind of superstar. So I'm always wondering, those players who actually spotted that they were so good. Nowadays it's easy because they have a great career and you can see anyone can see that they're really good at what they're doing. But when they were just getting started, someone had to convince their boss to believe in those kids. And trust me, it's not always as simple as you may think. For example, I heard that when Michael Jordan was in high school, he was told that he wasn't good enough for basketball, so he started playing baseball. Now, it's a chance for us that he didn't listen to that coach that told him he wasn't good enough, right? Same thing for Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi, he's a genius in the world of soccer. But when he was a kid, when he was small, of course, people could see that he was good, But there was one scout, and to me, that scout is the superstar that spotted Messi. And he's been telling the FC Barcelona club back in Spain, you need to see that kid, you need to see that kid, and non-stop for like 6 months. And he couldn't stop because he knew that was a great player. Whereas other people just saw, yeah, sure, he's a good player, plays well, but, no big deal. But the scouts, he saw what other people didn't see. Just imagine if nobody has spotted Lionel Messi or Michael Jordan or LeBron James, even though it's a bit different for basketball because basically those players get discovered in college. But before they make it to college, they need to be spotted somewhere. Someone has to take a decision. And that's what I want to talk about when I say you need to develop your observation skills. Because think about it. That sports scout, do you think that he was born like that? So, as soon as he grew up, he could spot the best players. Of course, that can happen maybe once in a million. But for the most part, scouts actually develop their observation skills. So you need to do the same thing when it comes to web design. And how do you do that? Well, simply you need to go and take a look at many, many beautiful websites. This has to be a daily grind. Even if it's only 15 minutes, just go and try to spot one nice website and try to spot one crappy website and ask yourself why. Why is this crappy? Just get past beyond the subjective part of is it nice or not nice. Try to understand why do you find this attractive and not this one. And do that daily. Take some notes. What I do, I have note apps, and then I'm going to bookmark all those links. But actually bookmarking doesn't really help because then you have like 1,000 bookmarks. Now instead what I do, I have this note apps, it's called NoJoy, but you could use something like Notion or Evernote, whatever you want to use. So basically I'm just going to copy the link and then I'm going to put some keywords. Keywords could be something like aesthetic, minimal, white, colorful, whatever. I just put those tags. And then when I'm going to start working on a project and I know I want a minimal website with a lot of white space, but it has to be colorful at the same time, I can just type those keywords and then I'm going to find some examples. Now, in many of the videos on this channel, I actually showed you the process of how I go from a crappy website that I randomly spot on the web and then I turn it into a really nice professional looking website. Because if you don't develop this skill, you can have the best software, you can have the best computer, but your design are still gonna suck and you don't want that, right? There are many showcase galleries that you can go and take a look at. I already talked about these in many of my videos, but a simple Google search is going to show you the way. So basically you need to take this habit. Look for a web design gallery and go and take a look at the submitted websites and start making your own judgment. And then ask yourself, how did they do this? How did they do that? And like I said, start taking notes. It's really gonna help. But like we talked in the previous tip, you need to exercise that muscle. So yes, both tips have to work together for it to work. So you need to exercise that creative muscle, but to exercise the creative muscle, you need to develop your observation skills. Another good exercise is to take a look at your first websites and then go through the timeline of the websites that you've built and try to see if you got better or not. Try to see things that you used to do really bad and maybe you got better at it. Because if you see a progression, it's really going to motivate you. And if on the other hand, there's no progression, that has to give you the will to really change things around. Now, looking at websites every day for 15 minutes for a year is great and you must do it. There's no way around it. Like I said, you need to do it. Otherwise, why are you even watching this video if you don't want to put in the work? But while you're doing this, I'm going to share with you my third tip. Find inspiration outside of web design. Whoa. So you have a web design channel and you're telling me to seek inspiration outside of web design? I do. Because think about it. Nowadays, you have WordPress web designers, you got some Webflow web designers, then you have traditional web designers, that would do everything from scratch. But a large portion of the market today is WordPress. So what ends up happening is that everybody gets inspiration in the same place. And it gets even more confusing because we don't really know what's a web designer anymore because you have web developers that do design, web designers that do development. It used to be called a webmaster. It was a jack of all trades. And then we specialize web designers, web developers. Then now you have UI, UX, you have back end, front end. There's so many titles and so many people, do things interchangeably. So it gets really confusing, but not to me, because at its core, a web designer is a designer that just happens to do stuff on the web. Very simplistic, I know, but sometimes you got to go back to the roots to really understand what's going on. So with that in mind, as I said, the current state of WordPress web design is that people are going to go and purchase some themes, some templates, get inspiration at exactly the same spot where everybody else is getting inspiration. So this, in my opinion, is not really design. This is copying and pasting. And once again, there's nothing wrong with copying and pasting, especially when you need to do it for a living, because, you cannot always get inspired. But the thing I noticed is that when you do that, first of all, you don't progress as a web designer, and then the pleasure is gone. Because maybe you wanted to become a web designer because you wanted to design, but then at the end of the day, what you're doing is copying and pasting. So of course the pleasure is gone. Now, where do you go outside of web design to get inspiration? Well, for starters, you could go to museums if that's possible for you, or go and watch live shows and take a look at how the designers set up the stage. Also, you could take a look at beautiful architecture. There are so many resources online where you can see beautiful homes and try to get inspired by the spirit of what the designers try to do. Or study beautiful tech objects, or even cars like the Tesla cars, for example, which are beautiful in terms of design. And what about games? There are some serious designers in the gaming industry. And as you know, the gaming industry is more important than the Hollywood industry nowadays. So that's why I showed you this, a VR headset. So why on earth am I using a VR headset? Well, first of all, I must confess that I used to laugh about VR. I wasn't really interested. To me, that was like a gimmick. It's never gonna work, and why they even talking about this? But then one day I put one of those headsets on my head, and boy, that changed everything. So everything I said about VR before that, I take it all back. Because see, when you take a look at videos about VR, it doesn't really do it justice, because what you see is a 3D video on a 2D plane. So it doesn't really show you the immersion that you get when you put this headset on. So sometimes I used to watch some videos and people talking about VR, and to me it looked really bad actually, like poor graphics. But when you put the headset on, you're in a different world, and it's really hard to explain. So basically, if you want to know what I'm talking about, if you know anyone that has a VR headset, go and try it for yourself before you make an opinion. And that's what I've been guilty of, so I don't want you to make the same mistake. But once again, why am I even talking about VR? Sure, I can get inspiration looking at games and even some beautiful experiences. And to be honest, it really inspires me. I tried this app called Nature Treks. It's like a yoga meditation kind of stuff. I've never been able to meditate, so I wanted to try. But one thing really strange happened. So I tried this app and I didn't really meditate, but the thing was so beautiful that what happened was when I went back to work, I was really inspired. Not in terms of purely web design things, but I was just inspired. I was in that kind of mood that when you're a designer, you're going to find something. You're going to find the concept. But more than that, what really amazed me outside of the inspiration part of VR is that you can start working in VR. So basically, just imagine if you only have a tiny screen. I hate working on tiny screens. I love big screens. I have a big screen here because, first of all, it's important for your eyes. And also, it just helps you to make better work. In my opinion, I can have several windows and it allows me to work efficiently. So imagine if you only have a tiny screen. Well, when you put the headset on, you could have 3 gigantic screens. And because you're in VR, you're going to see those screens it could be like a cinema screen. Actually, there's one app called Big Screen where you have, I'm not joking, you really have a cinema. You have a movie screen and you can put your computer on there. Or you have another app called Virtual Desktop where you can really bring your desktop image within the headset. You can have several different desktops. And you have Airlink, you have so many things. I'm still discovering the VR world, but I was really amazed. And then one thing that really amazed me is that the VR headset can track my keyboard. Now, there are only a few keyboards that I recognize for this particular headset. And what I'm saying by recognize is that basically you're going to see your keyboard in VR. So you have fake hands. Actually, the headset can detect your hands and it's going to show you some fake VR hands. And then you see your keyboard modelized within the 3D world and you can type. So that's crazy. Then you can do a bunch of crazy stuff. You can meet with other people. You get your avatars. And I used to laugh about that. I was like, this look like the Wii, those little avatars. But once you get started, you really forget that, it's just an avatar. And it's good because you can see people's reaction. And basically, it's better, in my opinion, than just having a webcam. So I used to think, why not just using a webcam? But now I get it. So even for our industry, it means that I could work with someone that's, I don't know, in India or in Australia, and we could work kind of like physically, virtually in the same room. It really changes the dynamic. So as you can see, I'm really excited because I'm discovering this new world and I feel like I'm just getting started. Because one thing you have to know if you want to become a better web designer is that as web designers, we need to stay ahead of the curve. And I'm talking about the web design and the digital curve. And the thing is, this thing, I believe, could be the future. I'm not saying for sure it's going to work, but if everybody gets excited as I am, it's definitely going to work. Especially because you can get 4 of these for one top of the line iPhone. I'm not sponsored or anything. I'm just excited, but you can get one of these headsets for $300. And it's still quite a new technology, so 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, it's going to be crazy. And as a web designer, even today, you can actually work in this thing, collaborate with other people, work on gigantic screens. And if you're going to use Elementor, you can definitely already work on this. But let me get back to why I said we need to stay ahead of the curve as web designers. Well, in this other world, there are other ways to consume digital content. So of course, you can still open a gigantic browser and watch a website just in front of you. And I wish I could show you, but I'm still new at this, so I need to find out how I can actually stream what I see in the headset. And once again, it's not going to do it justice really, but maybe in a future video I'll try. So you can still open one of those windows, but where VR or virtual reality really shines is when you have experiences really tailor-made for VR. So basically not a flat 2D website, but maybe an environment where just imagine a shop, an e-shop, and instead of just the traditional add to cart, you could have like the menu like on a virtual tablet and you can just click on the items or tap on the items and add it. Or you could try things on. You could, I don't know, you want to buy a jacket, try the jacket on, and then it's going to show you in VR how it fits. I mean, that's crazy. Now, that being said, I still believe that the websites that we build today are still going to be here for a long time because nothing beats a nice, well done, simple website. You're looking for information. You don't want to go into VR and start fiddling with things. You just want to, take your smartphone and right away you find the information and boom, you're gone. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when you start getting into VR, like I discovered, and you can see how excited I am, then you want to start consuming digital content in a VR way. And that's where I believe a new market is born for the web designers of tomorrow. Because first of all, everything I mentioned in the previous tips, you can actually exercise in VR. You can look at beautiful designers, painters, you can do so many things, get inspired, and then apply that to your craft. But then if you want to stay ahead of the curve, you can start learning how to create experiences for the VR world. And maybe, just maybe, if VR gets bigger, and I believe it will, because if you look at all the big players, Google, Facebook, Apple, Amazon, they're all buying 3D and VR studios. Think about it. So if VR gets big and you're ahead of the curve, guess what? You will be in a really sweet spot, and who knows, maybe you'll become an inspiration. So I know it may sound crazy, but that's what I was talking about when I said you need to actually look for inspiration outside of the web design ecosystem. And remember, when the internet was first created, many genius people actually laughed about it and said it was never going to work. Yeah, right. So who knows, maybe VR is the new internet. And as a web designer, you should know about it. Now, While you're still in this reality, if you want to know how to create a killer brand identity for yourself or for your clients, I created the free brand identity guidelines templates that you can download on my website for free. Initially, it was made for Affinity Web Designer, but you can use it with Adobe Illustrator with a workaround. So if you're interested, just go to quesina.com/branding and follow the instructions on screen. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up because it's really gonna help the channel. And if you want more web design goodness, make sure you subscribe and smash the notification bell so that you don't miss anything. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you know anything about VR, if you tried VR for yourself, or are you gonna try it, especially after this video. Please let me know in the comments. So I see you in the next one, and don't forget, I'm trying to build the content I wish I had when I got started. So I see you in the next one, and until then, take care and stay safe. Cut.